July's US core PCE ticked higher to 2.9% as expected, and reports suggest that tariffs on imported goods are starting to feed into consumer prices. Coffee is one of the most affected products. At the same time, coffee prices have jumped higher in August. Are pricing dynamics changing? Could we expect a reshuffle of the current coffee trading landscape? Joining me today is Fernando Maximiliano, StoneX Brazil Manager for Market Intelligence. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So thank you for joining us. For decades, coffee entered the US duty-free or at very low rates. This was mainly due to the political relationship and the fact that there is no or very little domestic production. Now tariffs range from 10% to 50% for key suppliers. With coffee inflation already feeding into higher inflation, how much more could US consumers feel this in their wallets?
Well, these tariffs pose a very big challenge to the American industry, the coffee American industry, the consumers, the global market itself. So many things, many changes will happen if we see these tariffs continue to be placed on Brazil imports. So one of the key things is that the U.S. Actually the world is already facing higher inflation on coffee, and that is already hitting the consumer. The latest inflation data on coffee, roast and ground coffee in the U.S. shows it was above 33%. That's the highest value since they started the data series for coffee prices. And also, it's important to mention that this was due to many weather problems that rose coffee prices worldwide. But recently, from between May to July, we saw prices falling worldwide. Brazil's inflation on roast and ground coffee went down a little bit, so we were above 80%, and now it's around 70 something. But in Europe, the inflation is level, unchanged for the past months, but the US is still on the rise. And we expect that these tariffs will continue to add more pressure on this inflation, and it is expected to continue to grow in the US.
So as you mentioned, coffee prices fell in July, but they rebounded in August with weather conditions in focus. What's been driving this move?
Well, there are many topics that are driving this coffee market move. Some of the topics are new, some are not. For example, we can highlight here the low global coffee stocks. That's not something new. We saw prices reaching the historical highs in the first quarter of the year, and that was because of low stocks. Uh, that's something we already know, but it is continuous, and it continues to affect the market. We saw prices falling between May to July. That was because of the Brazilian harvest, in which brought a short-term relief, but it didn't solve the problem with the stocks and the total supply. Another topic that is not really new but important is that we have a very low Arabica production in Brazil. We even decreased our estimates for Brazilian Arabica crop after this harvesting, and this is something that acts as a bullish trend for New York and London. But what is new is the tariffs. We're talking about tariffs, but it is something new. If we think of beginning of July or June, we wouldn't expect that the U.S. would place those tariffs on Brazil. And also the frost that hit some coffee regions in Cerrado in Brazil, that was unexpected. This was a major hit that caused this price move. We even did a survey in the area. We estimated that the loss is around 425,000 bags, considering the potential for 2026. But it could be even higher because when flowering buds are exposed to such a low temperatures, it could cause damages that we will only see when we see the flowering. And also another thing that is driving the market is a concern regarding the weather during the flowering. Some models are showing that we could see below average rainfall, and that is something that concerns the market because we saw problems with the flowering for the past 5 years, and that was the main problem regarding the Arabica production in Brazil for this year, for example.
And just going back to US tariffs, could these alter trade routes and pricing dynamics?
All right, so what to expect on these? It's interesting that we would see a change in the global trade routes. So basically, the U.S. but prices are rising. This is bullish to prices in the U.S. as we know, and of course, the country will start to look for other suppliers. That could be Colombia, Honduras, and Guatemala, and other countries that produces Arabica. And what we would see is that those countries would redirected their exports to the U.S. For example, the coffee they use to export to Europe or to Asia, they would direct that coffee to the U.S. because the U.S. would be paying more. And what we would see on Brazil's side is that the markets that these countries are not supplying, then Brazil would take over it. So it's not opening up new markets, it's markets that we already have relationships, but it's a change in volumes and routes. So, and of course, we would see a premium happening on those other exporters and Brazil selling a coffee with a discount.
So market imbalances are looming. Are there any measures already taken to counteract these distortions?
Well, for now, we know there are organizations in the United States and in Brazil that are trying to put coffee out of these tariffs, but it is still unchanged. We will have to wait to see if we have changes regarding this policy. But what's been done is that organizations are trying to convince Washington that this is not good, this is not helpful for the American industry. According to the National Coffee Association, the coffee industry in the US it has more than 2.2 million jobs. And also, it creates value in the domestic market. So, according to them, each dollar spent on imports of coffee creates $43 within the American industry. So that is what the market is trying to do, is trying to explain that it is not beneficial to have those tariffs being placed on Brazilian imports.
Well, thank you very much for your analysis once again, Fernando.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
For more videos like this, please do like and subscribe.